Hey, it's July 1st and I'm supposed to be starting a new book, but I decided I didn't want to read this one. Well, not that I don't want to, but I have some time before I read this one, and I have some books before then that are due. So I'm gonna read We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. I think I started this last year, but I didn't get very far before I had to return it to the library. So it's short. I'm gonna give it another try. I'm looking forward to it. It's Camp NaNoWriMo, so I don't know how much reading I'm gonna do, but I am taking NaNoWriMo easier. So hopefully it'll be an easier time for me to get I'm still getting over my migraine, sorry. It'll be an easier time for me to get over it'll be an easier time for me to squeeze in some reading time. God, I'm just gonna end this here because it's been one of those days. Bye. Where's the light? Where's the light? I'm sitting outside, but it's not that dark out here. It's when's it? No, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, July 3rd. So I've been reading We Are Okay. I read more than half of it yesterday, so I really like it. I guess I'd only gotten like a few chapters into it the last time I picked it up last year, probably shortly after it was released. It's one of those contemporary stories that I actually really like, in that it's quiet, the language is kind of literary, you know, it's not just, it reads different than just another genre. Like, okay, like if I were to compare it to like something I write that is young adult, supernatural fiction, this contemporary story that is quiet and slice of life and just tells these like snippets of stories, parts of lives, and just puts it together into one story. It's a different way to tell a story, and it just comes across differently, almost more literary. Not in a sense that it's more worthy or worthwhile, just the sense that, like, for me, after studying literature, there's a sense of, oh, this is literary, or this is trying to be literary. Like, there is a sense of that, and I don't look down on genre fiction because I love it. I love reading it, I love writing it, but I also love reading the stuff that is more literary. Like, I read Tin Man last month and I really enjoyed it, and that reminds me of this. This is a little bit more young adult, and it's easier to read, easier to understand. I like the queerness aspect of it so far. Women loving women. I think I'm coming up on a little bit of a twist, and I'm just like, oh, but I'm really liking it so far. This is one of those books that I'm like, yeah, this is the style of contemporary that I like. So I read Tin Man, really enjoyed it. That one's like a rougher literary style, where it's kind of meant to break your heart while you're reading it. Like, I read Ramona Blue afterwards, and that one was really good. It was really long. This length is kind of more what I'm used to with contemporary, especially the ones that are slice of life, that don't have a lot of plot, that just have these moments and like maybe a single storyline going through, and just maybe looking on past moments and tying them together with the current moments, that kind of stuff. Those don't normally require such a long book. Like Ramona Blue was really long, but I did overall really enjoy it because I enjoyed the characters and their growth, because they did grow, and this one is good so far. I don't know if the characters are growing, but I like the relationship so far. Marin, the main character, and Mabel, who is her best friend, who, you know, they were kind of something more than best friends at the end of, not their relationship, but like at the end of summer, right when they were the end of summer? The beginning of summer. So the end of school, I guess, is what I was trying to say. End of school, beginning of summer. right when things were beginning to change for them and stuff changed in Marin's life, and it kind of resulted in the story we have now. But it's just they're having communication and they're talking to each other, which is good. It's good. I'm enjoying that. I love communication in young adult books, and I actually love that they are in college right now, because like they have just graduated and they have just started college. They're in like their first semester. So I want to see more college and like young adult, and by that I do mean like young adult 20s in YA fiction, because I would call that like new adult as a market, even though I know everyone considers that to be like those like erotica basically that you can find ebooks on Amazon, and I'm like, that market can really be so much more. Like I think there is a market for that. Instead, like, we're trying to find some crossover where we can fit the books into YA technically, depending on the content, because we don't necessarily put a lot of smutty books into YA, but where they could otherwise probably fit into YA, if there's a lot of sex, they get booted into adult, unless they're specifically self-published. They can pretty much do whatever they want, market themselves however they want. But traditionally published, I'm like, I really want publishers to kind of start pushing a new market, because books like this could be in a new market. Not that young adult market readers can't read this, because I still think it's perfect for that. It's still the perfect crossover audience. It's just, I'm just grateful to be seeing more college age stuff, because so much of young adult is high school. And I'm like, high school's okay. Like, high school's okay. I feel like college is better. I didn't even go to a big college. I didn't go away. I didn't like board at a college or anything. Like, my experience of college is small community college, staying at home college, and I still had a better time than in high school. So as much as I love reading about high school, I'd love to read more young adult books about college. So that's why I'm enjoying this one. And you know what? Marin, the main character, has anxiety, and the way it's represented in here, I'm really enjoying, because I feel like there's a fine line to tread of representing anxiety well, so that like you recognize the anxiety and not like triggering anxiety in the people who read it, because I have read characters with anxiety and I've basically had to put the books down, because it's literally been triggering my own anxiety to read about their anxiety. And to me, I'm like, I can't read those books. Like, that's too much. It's too much. So I have to be wary when books are like, oh, so-and-so suffers from anxiety, and I'm like, okay, I'm already on overload with my own anxiety. Like, so Marin's like anxiety is done well. It's not like overly obsessive. She actually has like calm thoughts, and when she realizes that she might be starting to like obsess over something and like maybe spiral in her thoughts, she's like, I gotta think about something else. Like, someone has to just start talking to me about something, anything else. And like, it's recognizable as anxiety without triggering my own anxiety. I don't know if that's true of like any other reader with anxiety. It could still potentially trigger anxiety. So just content warning for that, you know, like that it deals with anxiety, and they're talking about death and stuff like that. So content, you know, be aware. But so far I'm really liking it. I have less than half left, so I'm actually really hoping that I will be able to finish this book today. You know, while I was discussing this earlier, I realized I didn't film my TBR for July. I just let the first few days of the month go on by, and I'm just starting into my pile of books. Whatever, it's fine. I'm gonna go film it now that I'm home from picking up my car from the shop and stuff. And yeah, I'm gonna go film that and work on my book. Let's go do Camp NaNoWriMo stuff. Hello. I apologize if this frightens you, but it's 4th of July. I have a thing in my hair, and what started out as an attempt to do blue eyeshadow turned into this, and then my mom was like, well, here's some blue lipstick, let's just make it a thing. And I was like, all right, I'm too far gone for this. I don't even have to go anywhere today, I'm just sitting at home. Anyway, this is pretty frightening. So I finished reading We Were Okay yesterday, last night. I really liked this for the majority of the book until we got to like the very last little bit, and I was laying in bed and I was like, remember, and I think I said, I was like, I think we're getting to like a twist. Yeah, we were. We sure were. So I just kept reading because I didn't have that much left to go. So I just wanted to finish it at that point. So it left me kind of feeling like I don't know how to rate it. I don't really know how to review it. I did enjoy it for the majority of the book though. Right? Right. So the thing is, it's a slow kind of literary, a little bit slice of life. It does that thing where it goes back and forth on a timeline between the current time and the previous timeline. You're in the character's head a lot, and you're in the memories a lot. And I'm used to that. Like Tin Man was like that. That's kind of what this reminds me of. And I said that Marin, I'm calling her Marin, but I think her name might be Marin? Short A, not a long A? I don't know. I'm gonna keep calling her Marin, like Mariner though, because even though I think that's exactly not her name, I'm gonna keep calling her that. I said the way her anxiety was presented didn't bother me as much, right? I gotta switch arms, my arms are bugging me. And there's a shadow! Why is my light so bright? I'm gonna just put the shadow over there so you can't see the makeup's bad, right? So her anxiety was not like so in your face, like you'd see her taking steps to maybe stop spiraling or recognize when she would be spiraling. And I appreciated that, but towards the end when things were getting worse and she would start spiraling into certain dark thoughts, like that was like almost triggering for me, and I was like I don't want to be seeing those thoughts because those thoughts are triggering for my own anxiety spirals. So that's the kind of stuff that I was like, we were doing good for a very long time until we hit like the real kind of almost anxiety spirals at the very end. But that kind of came along with the twist reveal at the end when she was kind of reliving it. And so it made sense that that's when it happened, but I kind of still wish it hadn't done that to me. But this book, I don't know. She and her best friend, you know, they have this reunion. Her best friend's visiting her over Christmas break. Marin's staying at her dorm alone, and they're kind of trying to have this reunion because Marin just left after the death of her grandpa. She left without saying goodbye to anyone or doing anything. She just left and hid and didn't respond to anybody's messages or anything. I understand those feelings. So this is like their first meeting after they had kind of like gotten together, or at least the relationship had progressed beyond just friends, but then college had separated them, and then Marin's grandfather passed away and Marin ran away, and that's kind of where the story opens up, you know? So they're trying to have this reunion, and it's very interesting how it all ends, and I enjoy the like interpersonal relationships that happen because it shows that Marin and Mabel are still friends despite it all. Like it's awkward to get going, and they're not quite in the same place that they were, and they don't know if they ever will be in the same place again, but there's a lot of anxiety, and it deals with concepts of death and loss. I'm cutting myself off, sorry, my arm's getting tired. And there's mental illness and obsession, and there's also this underlying theme of like with that loss, kind of almost the hollowness and betrayal that you feel towards, I guess, the survivors, the people around you who have maybe also suffered the loss but act differently than you expect them to, or, you know, just very complicated feelings and emotions that I think a lot of people would recognize and be able to empathize with. In the end, you know, it has quite a happy ending for what the whole story had been about, and I was glad that Marin was able to find something for herself, something she had been looking for this entire time. And it was still just very quiet, and, you know, I think it was a hard journey for the character to realize that she'd been looking for solace and comfort and not to be lonely, but she'd been looking for that in the wrong place, in maybe her grandfather, who couldn't give that to her because of his own illness, his own mental illness. Like, he just wasn't capable. And with their best friends, and maybe things would have turned out differently if Marin had been able to handle her anxieties and any of the situation differently, if she had felt like she had been able to rely on people and had a support system, because she basically ran away from the only support system that she did have at that point. So even though this is a women loving women story, that's not the point of the book, and that's not even the main relationship. Like, that's in the past, and you see the characters growing up and growing apart, and the reconnection that's happened after a few months apart, after 6 months apart, and realizing that their lives will be different from now on, and yet maybe, you know, realizing it might be better for it. And it's just, it's one of those books that when I finished reading it, I was like, huh, I really liked it for the majority of the book. The twist I saw coming a little bit before, and I was like, oh no, oh no. And so the twist almost sullied my enjoyment of the book. But I kept pushing through. I kept pushing through to the very end, so that I could see how the book was wrapped up, how the feelings were wrapped up, and it was pretty solid. Like, I would have said this was almost a 5-star book for me, because I just came off of Tin Man and Ramona Blue, which I both, like, I enjoy those both very, very much. This one was very much close to that for me. Like, I would have given this a 4.5 stars, and then, like, towards the very end, it got a little muddled for me. But as I've been talking about my feelings here, I do think I really liked it. I don't think I quite liked it enough as those other two. So for me, I think this stands at maybe a 4 stars for me. But still really good, really good. Very interesting, very complex emotions. And a lot of people look down on YA books. Like they cannot contain complex elements or thoughts or imagery, and you're wrong. Like, those people are wrong. This was really good though. Very, very, very good. Maybe not exactly what I was expecting by the end of it, but very enjoyable nonetheless. Although if you do have anxiety, or have any anxiety about death or losing someone, and you have any chance of, like, spiraling thoughts about losing people, or like people you love growing older and missing out on life, this has some, like, trains of thoughts of that kind of stuff, where the character starts a little bit to spiral. The character notices that she starts to spiral though. That's the difference, where she's like, oh no. But it was very interesting. There were a lot of parts where I was like, if I could highlight this, like, if I had my own copy, I would have highlighted parts where it was like, she's like, I'm here with my best friend, but I feel so alone, because I've had this errant thought that has just completely depressed me, and I was fine a moment ago, and now I just need someone to talk about anything to get my mind off this topic, to just bring me out of this, because now I am just down. And I was like, oh God, there's been so many times I thought about that just because my own stupid brain has been like, you want to know a depressing thought? I was like, I am in the middle of hanging out with my friends. Excuse you, brain. So this has been very relatable in the in the anxiety department. So just forewarning, if you do have any kind of like anxiety triggers, thought spiraling triggers, concepts like that, this did have some of that, but I felt for the most part it was handled very well, and this was a very, very solid book for me. I did enjoy it very, very much. Does my makeup kind of match the book? That's funny. Okay, so next I'm reading Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. I've picked it up for today. I think it's less than 200 pages, so I should be able to get the bulk of it read today. I'm looking forward to this so much because I've read like 3 contemporaries in a row, so I'm looking forward to reading a fantasy. Like, yeah. Anyway, that's I'm gonna go do some Camp NaNoWriMo stuff now. Still with this makeup on, so God, the lipstick, the lipstick is just killer. It's all right. I'm done for today. I'll check back in later if I make any decent progress, probably before the end of the night. Hopefully when I have washed all of this makeup off. Hey everybody, it's Monday the 9th. I always forget the day. We're sitting at the post office, waiting for my mom. We're on our way to the library to drop off some books. So I thought I'd tell you, I finished reading Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. I finished this in like one sitting, I just forgot to say anything about it. It was really, really good. This is the type of fantasy that I love. It's like short and sweet, like it's really good. I feel like there was enough content, but it kind of like, you know, it still left you wanting more. Like, it was really good. Just good characters. I liked the concepts of like having the portal worlds and the kids that go into them and come back, and some of them not wanting to go back, and that there are these schools that, there's 2 in North America, but there are schools like all throughout the world, because there are children throughout the world that go through these portal worlds. And I find that concept just very entertaining. I would love to have that explored further. And I know that there's like, it's a series, but I feel like they're more companion novels, because I don't know that it takes place with the same characters involved in this. But really, really good. I love the concepts, and I like that there's like a like an alignment chart with the portal worlds, that they're like, oh, a high logic or high nonsense, or you go to an underworld, or just that there is some sort of alignment. And like, it was funny because these were portal worlds, so Shauna McGuire could have just been like, they're portal worlds, they don't make sense, we don't need to understand them, but she made rules for them, so I liked that. And it reminded me of maybe some other like types of magical world systems that I've read about, and it reminded me of like my own system, just that there is some sort of like an alignment way of looking at it, not necessarily for the world, but just maybe like the characters or concepts in it. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I can't wait to like read more and maybe explore those concepts again. Really fascinating characters. I liked to listen to their stories and the types of worlds they visited. There's different cultures inspired portal worlds. I really, really liked it. Like, there's some diversity. The main character, Nancy, she is asexual, and Cade is a trans boy, and that is talked about a lot. And it's just, I liked how that had influenced his relationship with the portal worlds, and it just, that was so interesting to me. And yeah, the culturally diversity with the portal worlds was so fascinating to me. Like, that just, yes, such a great concept. And I liked the execution. I like Shauna McGuire's writing. descriptive and evocative without being too much. Like, it's not leaning over into like purple prose at all. It's just enough that I liked it a lot. I really, really liked it. It's got some macabre stuff because a lot of the characters went to underworlds and something like darker worlds that were dealing with death, and something out of Frankenstein with doctors that liked to reanimate bodies, that type of stuff. So there's some gore and macabre stuff happening, but so if you don't like that kind of stuff, there's some of that, and there's death and some violence. But overall, this was a really, really good book. Like 4.5, 5 stars. Loved it. Can't wait to get the next book. Yes! Hello. I am here to wrap up my July reading vlog. I feel like I haven't done much reading in the last couple weeks because I've been, well, sick in the last week. And then the week before I was focused on reading one book, and then I've been focused on reading another book. So I haven't read too many books, but I read Grace and Fury by Tracy Banghart, which I have a separate reading vlog for that I will link down below. And this one was a fantasy, like a feminist fantasy without magic. So it's just these two sisters. It was really good. Okay, like it was really good. And I think I put all my thoughts into that reading vlog because at this point I'm like, what? You know, it was really good. It was, I think overall, it was really a good fantasy. It's, this was an arc, so it's not perfect, but had a lot of just really feminist messages and really strong female characters, and the sisters were great. And I love the strength of the women being in different areas. Some of them are physically strong, some of them are mentally, some of them are emotionally strong, and there was diversity, and I'm hoping for more diversity in the sequel. That would be lovely. And it was good. The pacing was a little fast in the back half. Like it picked up and it just went, which is good because it's a page turner. But it also kind of does, it's kind of unrelenting when then it's just like hitting you in the face between the two sister storylines, and you don't get like a breather between stuff happening. So it's a little bit like chaotic, but then the ending gets you anyway. So it's just, it was kind of a raw ride at the very end, but I liked it. Some of the metaphors were heavy-handed, but some of the metaphors were like spot on. It was a storyline I was expecting. Like, it was nothing new in terms of fantasy storylines. Like, that was nothing new, but I liked the feminist approach to it, and the writing style was very lush and descriptive. So that was, I don't know, it just, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. This was, I think, close to a 5 stars for me, but it was like 4.5 or like almost 4.5 to me. So I probably gave it 4, but like it was almost 4.5. So I would love to pick up a finished copy at some point before the sequel comes out to see how the actual finished copy fares. So overall, it was a really good fantasy, and I'm going to pick up the second one next year. I'm looking forward to it. And then I just finished reading Finding Yvonne by Brandy is it Colbert? Colbert? Probably Colbert, I don't know. Names. So this was a contemporary that took me far too long to read. Hi. And I liked it. This one I kind of struggled with, maybe because I was expecting a different story from it, and maybe that's on me. And this one also has a separate reading vlog for it. This one is about a teenager, Yvonne, who is a violinist, and she realizes she's not good enough to go to conservatories, and it's probably not what she wants anyway. So she kind of gets lost as she's approaching the end of high school. So it's a story about, you know, trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, but she's also kind of lost in her personal life as well, with her relationship with her father, which is strained because he's not really around. He is a chef owner of a restaurant, so he's very busy, and he has been busy for a long time. He is a single parent to her. Her mom left them when Yvonne was about 6 years old, so she has been out of the picture for a long time. Yvonne has one friend and a friend slash boyfriend. I was a little confused about their relationship throughout this book. I guess they weren't in a committed relationship, but I didn't know that in the beginning. Like, they didn't really use those words, so it felt like it was a cheating storyline the entire time. It's a very sex positive book, which I love, and it's a very nice portrayal of a Black family and Black business owners, and it's just, I love it. There's racial diversity, there's some sexual diversity, and it's a pretty solid contemporary. Like, any of the issues I was having with it, by the end of it, I was like, well, I guess she's a sad character, and that's okay. Maybe I find it rarer to have the main characters be static, but it's a short book, and the things it deals with, I feel like we don't get a lot of closure on. Like, we still don't know what she chooses to do with her life. And this is an arc again as well, so who knows what the finished copy looks like, if things were altered. And I loved, this is not like bad stuff, like this was stuff that I loved the messages of just so much good stuff, like the passions for music, and just I don't know, so much good stuff in this book. I liked it, and I think I'm giving this 4 stars, even though it was kind of like just a little bit lower than 4 stars for me. But like, I did enjoy it. I think maybe my expectations were a little off compared to the book that I was getting. So then once I sat and thought about it, I was like, you know, Yvonne was a strong character, and Yvonne remained a strong character. That's okay. That is okay to have a strong character remain strong, and not, you don't have to have a character have positive growth or negative growth. Like, it's rare, but it happens. And I was like, oh, well, I feel like sometimes if I know these things going into it, maybe I wouldn't be like so like halfway through when I'm not getting the character development that I think should be happening, because I was like, I feel like there's very little development happening here. But I think that's because Yvonne, like, it's called Finding Yvonne, but I was like, freaking Yvonne already knows who she is. And I really actually like enjoyed that aspect. So I was like, she's flawed, she could be selfish a lot of the time, but she stuck up for herself, and she stood up for what she wanted, and she didn't apologize for doing what she wanted in the moment because it would make her happy. Like, I love that. I really love that. So this, like, 4 stars. Again, this is another one I would be interested in picking up the finished copy eventually, maybe like sometime next year, and seeing how the finished copy, if it's any different from the arc, because some of the pacing, like, it got wrapped up a little bit too fast in the end, and I feel like the focus of the book kind of lost its way a little bit, but a pretty strong contemporary. So I would pick up another book from this author. Pretty good, pretty good. So I had a good reading month this month. It's not my strongest because kind of halfway through Camp Nano I stopped reading. Like, this one took me a little while, like a few days, and like in between traveling I didn't have as much time to read as I wanted, and then this one took me more days than I'd like to admit to read. I did not get to some of the other books that were on my TBR because I ended up reading these 2 arcs, and that's okay. They're gonna roll over into August. I already have my August TBR picked out, and I'm excited to get to those ones. So it's gonna be one of those ones where like if I have time in my August TBR, like I might go back and forth between some of my leftover July books. Maybe. I'm kind of more looking forward to some of my August books right now, so anyway, all right, this wraps up my July vlog. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.